Hey everybody, what's going on? Rob Cesternino back here for some bonus coverage here, talking about season 3 of The White Lotus with a man who's an international traveler himself, Josh Wigler. Josh, how are you?
I'm doing quite well, Rob. How are you today?
I'm thrilled, chuffed to bits, because we are here with one of the stars of The White Lotus season 3. Did you catch him? And of course,
no, of course we didn't. We did a whole ass recap.
We did. Embarrassingly, two idiots right here because we did not catch. This man, along with his amazing partner Emily, it's Dr. Christian Hubicki.
Hey there, it's good to be here. I appreciate you reaching out. I was genuinely curious if anyone would notice, and it turns out at least one person did. So
okay. We were very busy on Sunday night. We had been dared, and normally Rob and I, we both podcast a lot, but it's a little weird when we podcast together. But people were asking us hey, do you want to just podcast together real quick? We're I don't know.
Yeah.
I was very worried.
And we were on ecstasy, so please forgive us that we missed some things. Yeah. Okay, but
we were raging pretty hard. Rob had a hell of a monologue that he delivered to me on Sunday night.
But in case you missed it, Christian and Emily would you say that was the moon party that you were at?
Yeah, well, it was at that Cafe Del Mar. I guess it must be a whole holiday thing that goes on around the island in general that was happening all over the place. You know, we were not subject to squirt guns though, which I count us as a win.
Okay,
man, I think you would have done fine in a squirt gun battle.
Yeah. So cool. So Christian, could you tell us about how your trip to Taiwan was?
Can I just quickly interject for the people who listen to the White Lotus podcast that aren't here from Survivor? We take for granted that there are a lot of people who listen to this podcast who are indeed Survivor fans, but there are also a lot of people who do not know Survivor that well. And Christian, just like Godfather Carl and Natalie early in the season, was once on Survivor with Mike White. So that is the connection. And in this past episode, in a blink or you'll miss it capacity, to the point that Survivor know-it-all Rob Cesternino and recovering Survivor temporary know-it-all Josh Wigler completely missed that Christian was even in the episode, but the Survivor detectives of the internet clocked it, and here we are today. That's the background on what's going on.
If you're listening to this in our Survivor podcast feed, did you know Josh and I cover the White Lotus? And for the rest of our coverage,
also a very important thing to point out.
Head on over to WeKnowScriptedTV.com.
Yes, please hit subscribe, like and subscribe, and tell your friends so that we can continue covering shows like The White Lotus here on RHAP.
Okay.
I tried to infuse a few extra H's in there. It didn't work.
Okay.
Christian Hubicki.
So here's Christian. Christian, do you want to give us your story of how you ended up in the White Lotus?
Yeah, sure. It's a kind of a crazy story of happenstance. I mean, a lot of people knew, I think it was all over the place, that the great Natalie Cole and Carl Boudreau were going to be on this season, and Mike had cast them with a specific creative vision in mind, and it's fantastic. And it was kind of wild in that Emily and I were already planning a trip to Japan right around May of last year. So about 10 months ago, we were planning a trip to go out in May because I actually happened to have a conference in Yokohama in Japan. Me and a student had one of our papers accepted for the International Conference on Robotics and Automation. It's a cool paper on an algorithm that allowed robots to sort of walk and roll in a very interesting and predictable way. Anyway, probably not what the White Lotus audience is here to hear about, but
we were all interested in robots. They're too scary.
and so we were
made of metal. They're gonna take over the world. Skynet.
I live for your Parker Posey impressions, by the way. We in our house, we do love those. Love during Best in Show, all that business. But
T-1000.
So we're planning a trip out there, and I had just gotten 10.
Where did somebody say the T-1000? My son is keep him away.
We'll get to him in a moment, by the way.
It's can I tell my story? idiots.
You're pinging off like all these stories that I'm going to get to. No, it's interesting. So it's like, oh yeah, I forgot there is that little element. But like there is, so we decided to plan on a trip for like 2 weeks, and we're like, hey, we'll spend a week at the conference, then a week, touring around Japan, doing some other stuff. And as we're planning this trip, just randomly out of nowhere, and this is something that like will happen every once in a great while, where you'll get a text from Mike White, and it'll be about something completely random, and then you won't
hear yourself.
Yeah. and it happened to be like he was hanging out with one of his actor friends whose daughter, for some reason, could do an impression of me. And apparently, so you taped this young woman doing an impression of me and sent it to me. And I was like, oh, okay, that's funny. Haha. I realized,
was it good?
I'm told it was good. I'm not a good. I'm told. Yeah. Emily said it looked good. It looked good.
Okay.
So, and I think that. So at that point, I was like, wait, they're filming in Thailand while we are in Japan? While we are in Japan for this trip, maybe. And Mike is kind of giving out sort of like, at one point he sort of gave out like a general invite to people from the cast, like, hey, if you happen to be around when I'm filming on White Lotus, this was like after season
knock
1.
on the door.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, knock on the door, say hi, right? Come on by. So it's like, hey, we had been to Japan. Emily taught English there for a year, and we love Japan, but we'd never been to Thailand. And I was like, hey, what if we just went to Phuket? What if we like because that's the way you get to Phuket is actually through Japan. There's almost no direct flights there. So we're like, hey, what if we went there and just we'd spend a week touring around Japan, doing the kind of like the high frequency lifestyle of going around on trains and stuff from place to place. Josh, I'm sure you would have not relate this in any way.
I can't relate.
Not at all. Not at all. And then we just kind of like resort spa it up for another week in Phuket. And while we're there, we'll visit Mike and we'll see what happens. So I thought that by Mike. It's like, oh yeah, sure. Just let me know when. And he sort of like teased the idea of maybe I'll drop you in the show. Now, I know enough about TV, how non-committal that can be. Like shooting schedules are what they are. But it's like, hey, Emily, why don't we just go? We hang out. Maybe we see the set, but keep expectations low, right? Who knows what will happen. And so we booked the trip out there. We fly out there. We stay just downhill from where the White Lotus was being filmed in Phuket. So they were at the Rosewood, which is a really swanky place. We were downhill a little bit, but it was still very nice. And we got there.
Holiday Inn Phuket.
Holiday Phuket. It was very nice. It was very and so we kind of got both aspects of this vacation. Kind of this run around, Japan sort of thing, and also the kind of this spa it up kind of vacation. So it was great, and it's sort of my celebration and part of that I'd gotten tenure, and we got to finally go back to Japan and the East Asia and East Asia. So that was fun. And
how long were you in Asia for this whole experience?
2 weeks. 2 weeks. So 1 week Japan, 1 week Thailand, basically.
Yep.
And so we were basically there for a week for Thailand, and Mike said, hey, I just got off of a long shoot. Why don't we just get dinner tonight? And so that's the first time I'd seen Mike in a very, very long time. Emily and I went up to where he was up at the Rosewood where they filmed the White Lotus. And he was like, the poor guy had been shooting all day. So it was very nice that he even met with us. And so we said hi, and he was telling us about the show, and what was going on. Had a nice quick dinner because I know he definitely wanted to go to bed. And on the way back to like we were leaving the hotel, we run into like, Mike's like, oh, this is Patrick. And I'm like, Patrick. And Emily's like, Schwarzenegger. Like she knows her people. I was like, oh, okay. Josh, you can't do an impression, can you?
No, certainly cannot.
So it was just like, oh, hi, this is Patrick. Oh, this is Christian. And he's on the season on Survivor season with me. And it was just the briefest of little interactions with Patrick Schwarzenegger that I got to see. Well, it was cool. So the rest of the week,
what was he like? What was Patrick like? As douchey as Saxon?
No, I mean, he had like the purely like nice guy sort of face. Like it really was the first time where I saw like an actor before I saw them play the role that they played, and I was like, oh, that's what actors do. That's what actors do. And Mike was like, oh, don't worry, we'll fit you in the show somehow. Like, oh, okay, sounds good. And we assumed we'd be extras. We had not been sent any scripts, so we assumed there would be no lines, and that's fine. If we get dropped in the show, it's great. And so we spent
Carl and Natalie had a months-long experience, their courtship for the show. They had to sign all sorts of stuff. Carl said he had lines that he had to learn. This is like the fast forward version of this.
Absolutely. This was we were going to be extras, you know, and so like, okay, that's great. And we wasn't even sure what scene we'd be extras in because the filming schedule was getting shuffled around. They had filmed that week he was saying, oh, we're going to film the arrival scene, the famous arrival scene. That's like a full day of shooting on the ocean. And that had to be like pushed back because of storms. So like, okay, so we're seeing the days kind of tick back and we're like, well, we leave Phuket in a week. We may never actually get to be on the show. Like we just got to understand that. And so low expectations. We're just hanging out at the spa. We go around Phuket, just doing the vacation thing. And occasionally we get an update and be like, hey, Christian, what's your neck size? You know, it's like, in case you're a what was it? Who are the people around a hotel who help you carry your stuff?
Bellhop.
Bellhop, a concierge.
Yeah, like
so maybe you work with Gay Talk.
Yeah, exactly. So like the idea is like, hey, I was going to be some kind of bellhop around the White Lotus. It's like, okay, here are my sizes, and I'm conversing with this
Fabian's protege.
Yeah, something like that. And it's like, and then the shooting schedule gets pushed back, and they're like, oh, okay, no, we'll put you in a different scene, and it'll be at this cafe. And we'll have you and Emily just be extras in the background. Like, okay, perfect, fine, whatever. Our goal was not to bother anybody. Like the minimally, like just seeing the sheer scope of what was going on. Like I was like, this is crazy. We don't want Mike White to shuffle around his whole schedule for little old us, you know. So like, don't bother anyone was the mantra. So eventually, the last day we're in Phuket, like literally, we were going to fly out late that night on a red eye back to Japan to then go back home. It's finally the day of shooting that was going to happen. So if that got rained out, we wouldn't have been on the show at all. And so we had like a 9:30 call time, and a little van comes and picks us up from our hotel. A couple of people who are on the production crew kind of got picked up along with us, and they were driving us down to where the to where the shoot was, down at this cafe. At which point we're kind of getting little dribble hints of like the plot as they're talking with each other. Like the only thing I heard, they're like, oh, you know, they're shooting the robbery scene. I'm like, oh, there's a robbery. There's a robbery. It's like at the scene, but otherwise I know very little. And we show up, and thankfully we get dropped off with a bunch of extras at this cafe. Me and Emily, and we're like, where do we go? We definitely don't want to be walking around and say, excuse me, we know Mike White. Please tell us what to do. Thankfully, we bump into Mike White. And it's like, oh, you guys are here. It's great. It's like, yeah. So here's the scene. You know, there are these three women that they're going on like kind of like a get together tour, and they want to have fun. And they have a health butler, and this health butler takes them around, and they're going to get into more. They're going to get into more than they bargained for at this thing. So now we've seen what they bargained for on the show. So I'm giving away nothing. And so that was started the shoot of the day. So that's how we got there. So it's onto the island for shooting.
So let me ask you, having been on Survivor, is this your first non-Survivor TV set that you're on?
Yes. I mean, the only other TV shoots I've done are for like Science Channel things.
Sure.
Like Science Channel people come out, and that's a very different thing, right?
100%. Like you're getting interviewed.
Yeah. And like I knew enough that like I know they're long. Like TV shoots are long and boring. Like I was telling Emily this, like, and Emily lives in LA, grew up in LA, so she would actually see some shoots as well. So she knows what they're like. But like we know they're long and boring. And so we were prepared for that. I didn't quite expect how long and intricate a scripted show of this caliber was going to be. And so, so we came in outfits. We were told to bring in clubbing outfits, which of course, as you can imagine, I have many in my wardrobe, many. So the night before we had to go into town and buy some clubbing outfits, or our closest approximation thereof.
Did you go to a Jim Thompson?
I don't know what those are.
Jim Thompson is a very well-known person in Thailand history. I don't want to go as far as to say that Jim Thompson and the character that Walton Goggins is searching for right now are analogs of each other. But there's some parallels certainly in that story. And also he was like a silk magnate. And so you can get all sorts of silk clothes from the Jim Thompson line. It's true.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. So it's I didn't know silk was magnetic at all, and regardless, I think,
even the scientists learned something.
Yeah, I learned something. So when it comes to, so that's how we got there. And so we show up and like they point us toward like the extras tent. And so like so to get made up. So we did the whole makeup thing. I actually, Josh, I don't know if you have, I actually texted you some images from the shoot. So like so like we went back and they said, oh, okay, this is what you got. That's great. We don't have to make you up as Russians. I'm like, what? It's like
Russians.
Russians. So at that point we realized, oh, this scene, this is like a Russian club with a bunch of Russians. And it's like, okay, I'm not sure how one gets made up as a Russian, but so we basically have this just this extras garb that we have And
tell us about your character.
Yes. So my character.
Did you have a name?
I wish I did. So I think that what I was going for is that, Emily, we're going to be the dorkiest people at the coolest club in Thailand. That's going to be our thing. Like maybe I was LBH number 3. That was my my name.
Okay. So, you don't have the right look for that.
The LBH. Oh, okay. Well, so
too much hair.
So I mean, too much hair. That's funny. And when it comes to getting, so we're like, okay, we're just going to be in the background of a scene. We'll just follow direction and we'll go. So, we get made up.
I've got some images, by the way, for the video version of this podcast.
For the video, So this is actually where we got placed in our scene. So if you might recall that there was a scene where the 3 women meet where they meet the 3 guys when they show up. That's like the bar, like right behind us is where they all kind of met right there. So we were in a shot for that, but like we knew we weren't on camera for it. So like that's us. That's in our looks for the image right here. Now and we got made up at the makeup tent, and those people are professionals. Like the sheer scope of all of different camera angles, all of the trucks, like the off-campus like tents of like where the wardrobe is, and there were like hundreds of extras, it seemed, being poured into this. It was just a massive operation, and so we start filming, and this is part of the story here. So we start filming, and right as we start filming, rain. Okay, and we're like Leslie Bibb and Michelle Moynihan and Carrie Coons all have to be kind of shuttled off to the green room for because it starts raining, and then me and the rest of the extras and with Emily are just like hanging out on this cabana, and it's like all this rain, and I'm like, we have no idea how long we're gonna be there for. So Emily's
getting hosed down.
We're getting hosed down. So like we're dry, but I think that I'm like, I gotta get Emily to someplace other than this. So I'm gonna go find an umbrella. So I run out to go find an umbrella. And I come back and get it and escort Emily to one of the other overhangs off camera. And Mike kind of catches us. He's like, "Hey, you guys, why don't you go in the green room?" I'm like, the green room, like with the actual like famous people? I'm like, oh yeah, come on, you go in there. So we go in, and sure enough, you have the 3 principal cast, and so you had the 3 women.
You got to hang out with Carrie Coon.
Hang out is a strong word. Again, primary one, don't bother anyone. And they're just sitting in the middle of the room in their chairs with their names on them, and they're reading their phones. And I'm like, I'm not going up and talking to them. So Emily and I, we kind of shuttle around the back and sit down. And who comes up to us but Valentine? His name's Arnis. And it's like, and it's like,
his name's Artis?
Close enough. Arnis.
Oh my gosh.
And he come up, it's like, hi, I'm Chris. It's like, I'm Arnis, and he had his girlfriend there. So we were striking up a conversation with Valentine. It's like, what do you guys do? What are you doing here? And so we tell him, and somehow, of course, I ended up giving a lecture on robot control. That somehow that worked into the conversation somehow. He's like, what do you do? Which is the most dangerous question to ask me. For those audience members who don't know me, I'm a robotics professor. So I'm so sorry to Arnis, but he was such a nice guy. He was so nice. And we were talking with him, and I'm tapped on the shoulder by a producer, and they said, we need to dry you. I'm like, excuse me? I was like, yeah, for continuity, you weren't wet in the shot. So what you have in that image there, Josh, is me being dried. So that way I am dry for the next shot, which was only mildly humiliating as I was standing in front of Carrie Coons, Michelle Moynihan, and Leslie Bibb, being dried, so I wouldn't ruin the shot. So I failed in my mission to not bother anyone.
But you succeeded in your mission to be the uncool guest.
Yes, I did.
Christian, were these your own party clothes, or was this costume?
We bought this at the downtown in Thailand. So we were given some general instructions for what to wear as extras.
Were you given budget? Did you have to pay to play? Did you pay to play on the White Lotus, Christian?
You gotta start somewhere. You gotta start somewhere in this. No, but I think
ethics are questionable.
Yeah, well, I think that as extras, you get like an extras paycheck. I think the only challenge was we left the hotel, so I don't think we never got a check. So whatever, it's fine. At this point, it's probably sitting in the concierge. To be clear, we had a great time. We had a fantastic time. So once the weather cleared up, they put us in a shot, and they set up a shot where we were, but actually made air, where we were right in front of that burning logo for the cafe.
Yeah.
And Mike's like, okay, he kind of situated us in a spot where we would be seen, and he was like, hey, and they would play music and we would dance, which is one of the more, as you can tell, I'm a natural. I'm a natural at this. So we did a couple takes where I danced, and one
thing was to raise the roof just now.
Yes. The roof, as an engineer, I know how to do that. And so what I did
is that you would know how to do the robot.
That's a common stereotype among us robotics professors that we are trying to disabuse the public. Thank you, Josh, for bringing that up.
I apologize.
No, it's okay. And I think that, and so ultimately, I think one of the last takes is like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to talk to Emily. Like, we're sitting right there. I'm just going to talk to her. And I thought that was a much more natural thing for us to kind of be talking to each other. And that's the shot that made the air. And that was great. So
do you remember what you were talking about? Like, so this is unofficial dialogue. This is not actual dialogue that makes it to air. It's certainly not dialogue written by Mike White. And in fact, it sounds like you ad-libbed on the White Lotus.
It's one of my many skills, Josh, is the ability to ad-lib here.
Which I don't know if that was like crossing any kind of, there was no strikes
WJ
or anything.
The WJ line here. I'm a scab.
Yeah, the Phuket line. But what do you remember talking to Emily about? What were you guys discussing?
Well, you don't,
you look very emphatic, like very gestury in the shot.
Well, that's something you got to do all the time. I mean, like, again, the kind of shoots I'm used to are either me starving on an island, which, there's that. But number two,
rained on, they evacuate you to somewhere else. So this is like nothing new for you.
That's all
the main
normal.
Room that you all go to where they feed you hamburgers and Snickers bars.
I think this might still be under NDA, Josh. So if you can just wipe that from the podcast.
Yeah, I already burned the bridge, so I don't care.
No, and I think that. So what the other kind of shoot that I do are these robotic shoots where like it'll be like me with a student with a robot, and like we're like talking with each other as if I'm teaching them. And then and the thing you do, at least that I do, is I say, hey, look at this gesture I'm doing. Isn't it great? You're certainly learning a lot when I do this thing. And so that's the way I do my acting. So those, looking for my acting advice.
An old friend of mine called this theater hands once. That you have to have like theater arms and theater hands. It's like just like wild gesticulation to really add some emphasis.
Yeah. So that's what we do as professors. The more we wave our arms, the less the students get disengaged. I think YouTubers figured this out as well. They just kind of like whoa, and they also talk really fast. But yeah, I mean that. So we filmed that scene, and we filmed the nightclub dancing scene thereafter. And I think the thing that was like amazing to me is all the different takes that they would do where they'd set. I didn't understand how like a single camera show operated. Like when people talk about like The Office, they talk about it as like, is that a multi-camera show? Is that the phrase for it? I was like, why is a multi-camera? No, really, there's only one camera, and they have to, if you want a shot from different angles, they have to reset up the whole thing, do another take from that angle. And like, oh my God, it was so much. And just seeing how that translated to like the little monitors and like the way that it had all these filters on it. It was all the details were incredible. I was amazed by all of the work that went into what was just a couple of seconds of footage.
Christian, have you had any takes about the White Lotus as a viewer through 5 episodes?
I love the White Lotus in general. I mean, obviously I was going to watch it when it came out in what, 2021 when the first season came out. Like, oh, Mike says we're running, here's the show. I was like, hey, we'll put it on. And of course you're going to watch it because you know the guy. But it was, I find the characters.
You didn't watch it for Alec Merlino?
Of course. Well, I mean, that's always a bonus, whenever you get Alec Merlino. So we're always on the lookout for our friends from the show who are on there. And I mean, Alec had a multi-episode part.
A great irony for those who know the Survivor lore is Alec has a decent amount of dialogue and you have none, which is not how it went during your final showdown together.
There is some irony in that, and I'll tell you, just sort of like make sure this is all out there. It's like, look, I couldn't be happier with what was on television. Like I did, like I didn't want to learn any lines. Only lines I know how to deliver are the ones I think of. That's all. You know, I'm not an actor. So I'm like, that's a lot of pressure I wouldn't want. And I kind of loved how subtle it was. And actually I was like, when it happened, and Emily and I were watching this weekend, I was like, I kind of love this. I wonder if how many people will actually notice, because that would be so funny. Like if eventually people were like, oh, like come back weeks later. It's like, wait, was that Christian? Was that Emily? But Survivor Sleuth.
How many minutes later was it?
I think I started getting tagged within I'd say about 10 minutes of that. So, so once one person noticed, I couldn't be happier. It was subtle. And frankly, it was commensurate with the amount of time that we spent there. We came on the set for a day, and Mike was kind enough to just kind of slot us in, given how busy he was. Like, he's running a whole operation. Sure. And like, I mean, if you meet the guy, you like, he has this way about him where he's like, it's almost like, oh, you know, I'm not sure if I'm taking this thing very seriously, or, you know, whatever. He has that, but he's running a multi-million-dollar operation. And it's interesting to see that side of him. And we kept filming late into the night. And eventually we're like, we got to get to the airport. We're about to leave. So like, we're doing these clubbing scenes. And so we said our goodbyes really quick to Mike and left, and realized we never took a single photo with him the entire time we were there. So
that's a bummer.
So no, but I was thrilled. We got to see the set for a day. I got to be embarrassed in front of Leslie Bibb. And you know, what more could I want from the experience? And Emily had a great time. And so, yeah, fun time.
Have you been studying the narrative of the show? Are you invested in the who's gonna get got of it all? Where are you at with trying to decode any theory breaking that you've been trying to do here, Christian?
I mean, things become a little clearer over time, but it's insofar as Mike has been dictating the pace of that, or that the show has been dictating the pace. Like I would say, and I have no inside information. Literally, I told you all the things that I learned, that there's a robbery scene. These women get into some kind of mischief, and there's a health butler. Artist was very nice.
I didn't think that you were gonna, after Mike put you on the show, then you would come on a podcast to spoil the White Lotus.
No,
with your inside information.
Sure, absolutely. I'm just making that clear to the audience. This comes from, I'm not even having to hold back on what I know when I'm speculating. This is all complete ignorance.
Maybe though you have a little extra rope, having once upon a time cast $1 million vote for Mike White. I feel like you should be allowed to do almost anything you want in Mike's book. I mean, short of coming on to a podcast and spoiling his television program.
Well, I mean, just looking as a viewer, there's a couple of things. Like, I mean, obviously, I originally don't like Walton Goggins, and I come to like him more. The story that I actually look at, that I'm actually most scared about, is one of I forget who's Walton Goggins' girlfriend's character's name. I forget.
Chelsea.
She's so likable. What's your character arc gonna be? That makes me kind of scared. For how do you start off of a likable person who's very well intentioned, and where do you end up as a consequence? Doesn't mean she has to be the one who takes the bullet, but she's being tempted to be like, hey, you know, let's get away from these old guys. Like, what happens to her as a consequence? She's the one I'm most character arc scared for of all these people.
Yeah, I had a thought recently. What if because Rob, we're talking about like who's going to die, and there's been some concern it could be Chelsea. There's a lot on the show that sort of like points to they're talking about death around her. But last time we were kind of talking about it wouldn't be tragicomic enough. You know, it would just be tragic to lose that character. Yeah. Could she be involved in some kind of is the line that she's going to have to cross? Does she have to put Chloe down or something like that? Does she and Chloe, do they have to become ops in some sort of deadly way?
I don't necessarily think that has to be the case. Like go back and look at like Aubrey Plaza's character last season, where she could just be somebody who like has her relationship tested in some way and comes out with some new. Her and Walton Goggins have like some new understanding about their relationship after that. I don't know if she necessarily needs to perform some sort of like horrific deed or to have something, some trauma happen to her. But she has said that bad things happen in threes. Yeah.
There's there's always a lot of symbolism to varying degrees of subtlety in Mike's stuff. I mean, there's I forget what the name of the three monkeys, the see no evil, hear no evil monkeys. Like he obviously literally frames a shot on one of those ceramic monkeys, but also like I saw some coverage that like on the boat in.
Yes, I saw this too.
You saw this too? Yeah, like where the three children each have like their own little.
Abby Maria texted it to me today.
Really?
Oh my gosh!
Yes.
Wow. There's a lot going on in his shows. I mean, in terms of like, Mike, in terms of trying to realize like what he's up to.
See Abby on the White Lotus. When the day comes when we get to like White Lotus 12 and like we've run out of David versus Goliath people,
she'd be very good.
Oh yeah, I think that she would be a good fit. And I mean, Mike's an enigma. I mean, it's very hard to figure out what Mike likes or doesn't like in a specific way. It's very hard to figure out. So I think there's little predicting as to what he wants on a given season, what he wants for a character arc. Like I don't think anyone saw that monologue from Sam Rockwell coming this episode. For instance. So there's like it is interesting to see where he takes things.
Of that?
I mean, I think I had this
approximate face. What if you had shown up to Phuket and he'd said, "All right, I've got a banger for you. Get ready. You're gonna read this whole thing."
Well,
an absolute banger for you, Christian.
I think I would fear for my job actually if I had that like that. But it is funny. I actually love that like we're in like this episode because this episode is like very memorable and like in a lot of ways like it's so funny. Like it just makes for a funny story. Like, oh yeah, we have like a 3-second cameo on this thing. But if you're not safe for work stuff, maybe stop after the first 12 minutes or so because it goes it's like one of the more like intense kind of content episodes like this side of Game of Thrones of the kind of stuff that they do and or talk about. But like but I think that's par for the course for Mike. You don't know where he's going to go with something, and I think that for the show for which there's a core mystery element, that's what you need.
Does it track with your experience of playing Survivor with Mike? Like, I know that Mike was like sometimes hard to pin down, and that was one of the things that you talk about when you voted for him, that you thought that he played like a really genius next level game. But even just like conversationally, was he a surprising figure out there on the beach where like you just weren't ever really sure what was going to come from him next?
Yes, absolutely. Like I don't know ways to categorize comedy, but like there is a way that he steers a conversation that keeps you off balance. Like some things made air. Like I was talking to him one time and in just the middle of the conversation, he's like, "Ugh, I have beard hate right now," and he walks off. And what motivated him to say that and do that?
Beard hate.
Beard hate. He's scratching his beard. It's like, I hate my beard. I have beard hate at the moment, and it was just so off the wall. They were like, "What?" So it's hard to track where a conversation is going to go with him. And I think that's, I don't know the man that well, but I think that it's certainly not surprising that his show is plotted in the way that it is, the way that I've experienced conversations with him.
But also, it doesn't surprise you that the show, I believe you would agree that the show has some significant Survivor DNA. Like you view the White Lotus a little bit differently if you are a Survivor fan, I think, and you know that Mike White is a Survivor person. I can imagine that happening doubly if you were a Survivor player, and specifically a Survivor player with Mike White, that you can see some of the structure of that show infused in this one.
I mean, Mike himself has talked about Survivor in his interviews as being murder. It's fun murder. I think he's talked about in interviews. So like that's not surprising. And even the format, right? I think I'm really into the show. I mean, it's not, I don't think that it's great because I don't think it would be a show that I would naturally gravitate to turn on and try if I had not known about, the connection here. And it's very engrossing. It's just these scenes of the act, anyway, whatever. But the format each season is similar. And I've seen people talk about, it's like, oh, it's the same sort of thing. It's gonna be someone who's dead. It's like, yeah, that's what Survivor's like. There's always, it's the same thing. People are gonna get voted out. There's gonna be one person left at the end. It's the same thing, but it's the journey along the way that's interesting. So that's unsurprising. So in a way, it makes him intriguing because like you think you got a line on what he likes and is interesting, but the way that he gets there is very Whiteian, if you will, in the way he gets there in a way that's surprising. So I'm glad he kind of settled on this murder mystery element, because if it's a bit of a mystery, that plays into his own mystique.
All right, only 3 episodes left, and it's really heating up. I can't wait to see where it's going to go. Do you have any predictions, Christian?
I mean, I could have predicted that Kenny was going to flip on him. I'm not sure why, though. Like, he didn't think that was going to happen. I wish that's.
I mean, that's very Survivor. Somebody always flips.
Someone always flips. I mean, I'm of the camp that Belinda won't be killed.
Yeah.
I think that's a little too.
She has immunity, right?
I think so. She wins final immunity, so her son doesn't need to worry so much.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I'm not of the kind to make a specific prediction as to which the person is gonna die. I think it would, like you said, Rob. I think it'd be tragic if I keep forget the character's name. Chelsea. If Chelsea, that would be tragic. A little too dark. I think her downfall, if she had one, it would be of her own making and choices, and not of a stray bullet, I would think. But yeah. I actually was surprised when she got bit by the snake. I was like, that there's sort of a jump scare in that, like a snake and a jump scare. Normally, I don't remember that from Mike White's show, so it's a bit of a twist there.
Yeah, that's why I'm worried. That's why I'm scared.
Yeah.
Who should be the next from your cast to go on the White Lotus?
Well, I know Gabby's a huge fan of the White Lotus. I know she's a huge fan, and has always been. It's right up her alley. The interplay of relationships is exactly what she's into. And obviously, Davey. I think.
Where's Davey?
Mike, do you want to play with me?
So I think that twirling a stick on the beach, maybe. I can imagine either of those things happening. But look. The thing I've learned is that, look, Mike comes up with what he comes up with, and I'm just lucky that I happened to be passing by.
Yeah,
and so we got to have this little experience, and it was a great bit of fun. And
who's
Emily,
his closest friend from your cast? Do you think
Mike?
Yeah,
that's a good question. That's a good question. I think that. I mean, he did. I'm assuming he had Alec on his show for so many. Like he was like, I think Alec was on set with him the entire Maui shoot.
Yeah,
he's got to be pretty close with Alec.
Yeah.
I mean, here's another like I think like maybe a story that might explain some of the White Lotus. I think I've told it to maybe you before, Rob, but apologies if I hadn't. So Mike, after our season, went back to Fiji. And he took like a handful of us with him to Fiji. I was lucky to be one of those people. Yeah. And we went in Fiji to the floating pizza platform Cloud9 that Josh, you've been.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Pretty good. Wood-fired pizza on a wooden pizza platform in the middle of the ocean. What could go wrong? What could go wrong with that?
All those millennials really ruined that for the rest of the Fiji contestants. They blew it on the first Fiji season, but now everyone gets bad pizza. But that was the best pizza in the land. It was really good.
It was good. It was good. So we went to this place.
So is it a restaurant? It's not a Survivor reward?
It's a restaurant.
It's a restaurant. It's real. But like Brett LaBelle like puked all over the place or something. I don't know. Like they caused all sorts of mischief, and they were never invited back.
Is that why? That's the story.
I don't know if it was Brett. I don't know what happened.
Yeah. That's unconfirmed.
Shenanigans occurred. I don't mean to blast Brett.
But I'll never forget. Like there was like we were on this platform and you had to take a boat on and off. So if you want to leave the restaurant, you have to wait for a boat to come and you have to jump on the boat to come get off. Right. And so we had our fill, we were about ready to go, but we had to wait for a boat. And I remember we were up on on the deck of this, and like there was a bunch of Instagram, like wannabe Instagram models posing around the boat, taking all these shots, and they're kind of getting up like right in like Mike's space, and he's sitting there just like trying to just drink like a Mai Tai or something like that. And I can just see the disdain on his face for the situation he was in at the moment. And he said, Christian, this is what hell is. Hell is being on vacation and being stuck with people you hate. Wow. And so I was like, and this was before the White Lotus came out. So like, I feel like there's a little bit of that DNA in the White Lotus.
Flashpoint for the White Lotus to some extent appears to be Survivor and maybe that immediate trip, the return to the Holy Land, right? To go back to Fiji and then to have that form of experience. It isn't like that pure Survivor Land experience anymore. Now you're getting to see the Jacqueline Lemons of the world at work and having some things to say about that in the canvas that Mike has chosen for himself.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't be more thrilled for the guy. His show is, I think it's #1 streaming show in the world right now or something close to that, depending upon the ratings, something like that. It's so it's doing great. And I couldn't be happier for him.
Now, Christian, a lot of the actors in the show have had to do nude scenes. If Mike had said, okay, Christian, I have a role for you, but it involves you need to do full frontal. Would you have walked off the set?
He'd have to talk me into it, I think. But I've done Stranger. No, I haven't done Stranger Things than that. No,
wow, coming to Netflix now.
Wow,
first Max, now Netflix.
Cameo. Wow, he's in the background.
I know it's there. I think that
on Stranger Things.
There's something. I think if anyone who goes on the show, there's an element of adventurousness to it. While everyone has their lines that they won't cross. It's like it. I'm not. Who knows? But like,
who knows until you're there, right?
Yeah,
you get walked up to the edge and see what's on the other side. How deep down does this rabbit hole go?
Put me on the spot here, Rob. But so it's a that would be
a tough question.
It would be it would be a tough question. Like, look, I have no.
I'd only go on the show if I was doing full frontal. I think that's the only way I would say yes.
And I think that thankfully for someone like me who does not have acting aspirations, it was just a fun little diversion. But like for someone who's really like, this is my chance to break into the business.
Christian, you're not an actor. You don't need to do full frontal and be one of these prostitutes.
What are your values?
You have values. You keep your clothes on.
But yeah, so that's the story.
Nudity.
So that's the story. And so like through happenstance, we're as close as we're going to get to that part of the world. And so we got to hang out in Phuket for a bit and then come back and no one knew about it until Sunday, which was great.
That's great. That's awesome. That's so much fun.
What a fun time. So fun to see you on the show. And thank you for sharing your story with us.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I just, I hope that everyone enjoys the season. Emily and I, we brought so much to the scene, of course. And
yes,
we appreciate that you.
I was pretty out. I mean, a lot of people were saying that like, oh, season 3, what a slow burn. And then I think that this episode ramped it up for a lot of people. So you could take some credit if you want.
Yep, me and secondarily Sam Rockwell. I think Emily, me, Sam Rockwell. I think would be the ranking.
The big three.
Yeah, the big three.
Okay, Christian, anything else you want to tell people to check out? Anything you're doing?
I mean, not in particular. I'm just professoring.
Blood on the Clock Tower is going to be live on Saturday afternoon on RHAP.
That's right. Thank you very much for for reminding me. It's been a long time coming. So we will be releasing the third episode of Blood on the Clock Tower. Survivors play Blood on the Clock Tower.
Yeah,
quite a fun episode. So feel free to check it out. We'll release it on Saturday.
Watch RHAP.com to check out our YouTube channel.
Indeed. But other than that, just trying to muscle through the semester, just one day at a time until the semester is over.
Yeah. Okay. You're almost there. All right. Josh, what's coming up for you? A busy Severance week, right?
Yes, right. Severance
you
finale.
Severance guy, Christian?
We are waiting for it to be much further along. Then we're going to binge it. So we've been
interesting.
So yeah,
interesting.
Mystery shows, like multi-season long mystery shows, I've been burned one too many times. So I'm waiting until people
What a level of self-control.
Yep. Yep.
It's also not my business. You're a podcast in business. You have no choice in the matter. You got to check out all these things like instantly.
Yeah, that's true. But I'm thrilled to do it, especially with Severance, as it is getting darn close to the end of the line. As in, it's at the end of the line. It's the finale this week. We got a final episode here with a lot of business still to accomplish. Myself and the doctors, Amanda and Melissa, will be recapping it. We'll get some theories and feedback. We're working on a bonus episode or two. So a lot going on behind the scenes as we are closing Severance out. And so much else happening on WeKnowScriptedTV.com. Yellow Jackets is getting relatively close to the end of the line. Here, obviously, White Lotus is getting close to the finish line as well. The Last of Us will be on the other side of that. Andor is coming back in April. Are you an Andor person, Christian?
I have not.
Either or.
I'm more. I have been a Star Wars person in a little bit, so I think I need.
You got burned by Mando.
Yeah, I did.
Mando's what did it? It didn't happen sooner than Mando.
Mando was the last chance they. Was the last chance that they
Last
had.
Jedi.
Yeah.
It was because of what they did with the Boba Fett.
No. It in general, like I don't want to talk. I don't want to talk badly about Star Wars, but it's I think that the first season of Mandalorian was wonderful.
Like he'd be a big Grogu guy.
Grogu's fine. He's cute.
I think God,
he's fine. He doesn't need a name.
You're out on Baby Yoda?
Call him Baby Yoda. You cowards. His name is Baby Yoda. Just call him that. That's Grogu's.
Rob
okay.
loves Grogu.
Grogu, the name.
Rob does a killer Grogu impression, actually.
I do?
Yeah.
Now you're
doing it right now. You're going.
Oh, he doesn't talk.
Oh. Okay, I see what you did. No, so anyway, so Andor is continuing. I hear good things.
You'd love it.
Okay,
you'd love it.
All right. Well, even if Christian's not watching it, you can check it all out here at WeKnowScriptedTV.com. Josh, anything else?
No, of course, we're going to be resuming our patron-only Survivor Heroes versus Villains coverage next week. We had an off week thanks to 15 years ago, March Madness, giving us a week off. We didn't know at the time, but thanks, basketball gods. But we'll be back with a double boot coming soon.
All right, and of course, episode 6 of the White Lotus coming up on Sunday. Take care, everybody. Have a good one. Bye.